Third question that I have, if in fact all staff in the option A or option B schools agreed to stay in their jobs, if I approved either option for the new district, are you going to have problems on day one of operation with unions, since your new district must operate under any existing unions, and your perspective, as I understand it, shows a fair amount of opposition to and negativism toward unions at Central, particularly the NEA. How would you address that?
How I address that is we would be dealing with a whole different, for the most part, organization. The vast majority of the teachers from the Kirtland area, there are only a very minor portion of them that are active NEA. They do believe in the district. Many of them, a huge portion of our teachers live in Kirtland, grew up in Kirtland, their kids go to school in Kirtland, so we believe we will have a working relationship of those teachers are going to be working because they're working for their kids too and their grandkids as well. We don't really think that when it splits we'll have any issues with the union. We believe that we can work through it, and it will be a different philosophy, we believe, from the teachers of the Kirtland area.
My next question has to do with this, which side the burden of proof is in this hearing. And so on page 13 of your perspective, you state, and I quote, "Those who would oppose the creation of a new district should be required to provide their evidence that it would not benefit the students," end quote. Mr. Manning, isn't the view that is embodied in that question directly opposite the applicable law, which, as I understand, requires me to determine if creating a new school district is in the best interest of public education in Central Consolidated Schools and in the best interest of the proposed new school district to be created, and in the best interest of public education in the state? So put differently, don't you as the individuals who obtained the petition have the legal burden of demonstrating to my satisfaction that creation of a new district is in the best interest?
Yes, and we agree with that. We believe the presentation and the data that we have will back that up. But that is a different way of looking at it from the other side of the coin. Can they really give any reason why it would not? And even in your letter to them, you actually put that in there and asked that question. So the district chose to ignore it, which they can because they don't have that burden. But I do believe it provides some insight into what are the real reasons of opposing the district. I mean, does every time there's a school developed in Albuquerque, are those districts spending thousands of dollars on the attorneys to prevent a charter school? We are, in essence, asking for that method.
Follow-up question. Can you explain the logic of your assertion and your perspective that it would, quote, increase the likelihood of educational improvement in both districts, end quote, for the superintendent to spend more time visiting schools in their districts if the districts are split? The subtext of my question is whether it is even a valid indicator of a district's success that a superintendent is able to and does visit all the schools in their district. I'm also asking you whether school site visits are the duty of the superintendent, who under law is the chief executive officer of the entire district, because I don't believe those visits are required by the state law or rule.
Nothing required, but something is different in the data we've shown today, that when you get smaller, and in almost every small district, when you talk with the superintendent, they are more actively involved in visits. Maybe that's a part of it. I cannot say it is all of it, but the data shows those smaller districts, for some reason, throughout the nation and through the state of New Mexico, do produce better.
Your perspective starts or implies that the narrowed focus of attention is what you wish to achieve in the new school district, a narrowed focus that does not include unions, chapter houses, and board requests. However, as the chief executive officer of the school district, if approved, isn't a superintendent required to focus on these and other administrative issues, like it or not?
Yes, but as talking to past superintendents and asking them how much of their time could they more focus on it if in a Kirtland school district, including the Yoho area, they have all stated their history of working in the district, the issues that come out, that they believe they would have more time to focus on the kids. Linda Bassett out of Santa Fe, you can talk to her or any of the other past three superintendents who all have the same opinion. The issue tied to that is the Kirtland community doesn't have a voice. The board always talks about, talk to the chapter, talk to the chapter. Well, Kirtland and board members admitted, we don't have a city government, we don't have anything. There isn't a method really to talk to almost 40-some% of the parents, and it continues to be ignored.
Assuming the PED approved creation of the new district, what is the cost of transporting 3,000 student files from the Shiprock business office to the Kirtland business office, and who's responsible for that cost?
The actual student files are maintained at the schools. The electronic files are at the admin, which that's simply a transfer of an electronic file. The hard copies are maintained at the individual schools.
While your prospectus discussed the advantages to both central and to the proposed district of forming a new district, I could not find mention of any goals or mission statements.
You've got a superintendent. We wouldn't go too far into the details because that's making an assumption of where he or she is going to come from. We're going to come in the hiring of that individual with philosophies, but it's still the superintendent who gets to decide that in the end. And what we're saying is that if you've got closer people to the individual making that, our communities are distinct and different. The Shiprock community is not the Kirtland community. The Newcomb community is not the Shiprock community. The district made the argument that, well, heck, if you let everybody split, for long, instead of 89 districts, we have 189 districts. We can't live with that. Well, the issue is, the data shows we would probably have better results if we had smaller districts with lower local control. That would cost the state less dollars in the end. So I'm all for after the data. Let's work back up to 189 districts, which we had in 1969.
Please listen carefully to these facts, which come from the San Juan County Clerk's website regarding school board elections in 2011, 2009, 2007, and 2005. In 2011, where candidates were running for seats in districts 2, 3, and 5, a total of 894 people voted. In 2009, where candidates were running for seats in districts 1 and 4, a total of 1,713 of 17,288 people registered to vote and voted. In 2007, where candidates were running for seats in districts 2, 3, and 5, a total of 1,199 people voted. And in 2005, where candidates were running for seats in districts 1 and 4, a total of 1,903 people voted. Given the lower voter turnout depicted in these documented facts, why should I assume the creation of a new district would result in greater parental involvement in school district operation and business?
Well, the two, you saw immediately that 2 districts in the Kirtland area always turn out significantly more voters. So there's not an issue whether you're going to have parental involvement from the Kirtland community. Our school board elections have always been heavy. They've always brought out the people. The community is very involved with where we want our students to go. So can I speak for the other communities? No, but now they're going to have 5 board members to try to go out and elect instead of just 3. I think the data actually backs up that parental involvement is something that is key in the Kirtland community.
The PED's School Budget and Finance Bureau Director reviewed your 910B5 forms found on tab W of your perspective and informed me that while you ran numbers for the district, you only ran numbers for your option B proposal. In other words, you did not present a proposed budget for your option A. He then prepared a 910B5 form for Central that assumed option A was approved. He prepared another 910B5 for Kirtland that assumed option A was approved. He then prepared a 910B5 form for Central that assumed no new district had been approved. He used 80-day student counts for the option A forms. One observation he made is that you used the wrong Teenie index in your 910B5 for the proposed school district under option B. Under section 22-8-24E of the public school code. You should have used the Teenie index for a new school district, which is 1.12. You used Central's Teenie index, which is 1.34. Another observation you made is that section 22-8-23.2 of the Public School Finance Act makes a newly created district eligible for a new district adjustment. So 2 questions. First, are you aware that because of the additional program units attributed to creating a new school district, the state would have to pay almost $3 million more for the first year to pay the increase in the program costs for Kirtland and Central districts? And is that in the best interest of public education in the state of New Mexico? The actual figure is $2.968,280, which is derived from combining FY13 program cost figure of option A and Central's program cost minus option A, to total $46,571,000. Then subtracting the program cost of Central as though neither option was approved. For the dollar watchers, $46,571,000 minus the $43,603 equals $2,968,280. So again, the question is this in the best interest of public education in the state of New Mexico to pay Kirtland and Central districts $3 million more for the first year, essentially because of communication and other long-standing challenges between adults in the area?
Okay, I'll go through things. The state itself won't be paying out more because you have a fixed amount. That's going to come out of the SCG, which is distributed among the 89 districts. Yes, would we be taking a little bit of Farmington's, a little bit of Aztecs, a little bit of Bloomfields? Yes. But 6 years ago, the PED had no problem taking $1 million flat out the top of Kirtland Central's, or Central Consolidated's SCG, simply when the 3-tiered licensure was put into effect, the fact that Central already paid high salaries, the PED came up with a great solution. Those who already pay it don't need it, so we're taking it. It is something that it's a give and take. Whether one district jumps up in its special ed enrollment, yes. Does that take from another district? Yes, it does. But the data in the end, what I'm going to ask, that I've fought for a long time working in school districts, is start taking a long-term focus. We, in education, what I watched for 10.5 years, we're always focused on this year. This year. It is hard to get the focus out 2, 3, 5, 10 years. The data shows, New Mexico data, not Michigan, not that. The data shows that the graduation rates of both districts should increase simply by giving us 2 districts. That is better for the students in both districts. The cost for the state in the long run are less. Does the cost up front from one district, such as Aztec or Bloomfield, may cost them a few $10,000? Yes. But in the long run, will it make more dollars available for all the districts throughout the state?
I'll follow up with the second question that I alluded to before. Why didn't you include a 910B5 for option A?